I made a beer using weeds from my garden, and the funny thing is, I don't even drink alcohol. But this was more than making an alcoholic beverage. It was about connecting to the older way of life.
Oh my god. Wow.
In ancient Wales, people brewed with what was available locally, from wild herbs to roots and fruits, crafting drinks that reflected the land and the time of year. And my beer follows that spirit. I use stinging nettles, dandelion roots, lemon balm, and rhubarb from my garden, plants with long histories in Welsh herbalism. I steep these herbs gently for about half an hour to extract their goodness. Then I added a handful of yarrow, one of my favourite herbs. It's rich in saponins which will not only add a light bitterness, but also create a frothy head on the beer, giving it a satisfying texture. After straining the infusion, I stirred in unrefined organic sugar, enough to feed the yeast but not overpower the herbal flavours. I poured it all into my fermentation vessel and added brewer's yeast and sealed it with an airlock. I leave my brew to sit for about 2 weeks while the yeast does its ancient magic, converting the sugars into alcohol, gently transforming a garden tea into something deeper. Once fermentation had slowed, I siphoned the beer into bottles, leaving just enough space for the second fermentation to build pressure and fizz. I label up my bottles and let them rest for a few more days before chilling. Finally, after weeks, it was time to taste my wild homestead beer. And what surprised me most wasn't the taste, it was the actual joy of making this beer, the act of crafting something old and alive from plants outside my door. And for someone who doesn't typically drink beer, I found myself more connected to the making than the drinking. So much of what we consume today is produced at an industrial scale, often with little regard to flavour, environment and health. So many beers today contain pesticide residues due to the industrial farming. For me, this beer is a reminder wherever we can, we should return to small scale, local craftsmanship in all areas of life.